to it like ASMR the entire time. And you guys do it. You can do whatever you want.
Dave just whispers the whole
Like this, and I'll just do that. Just the whole time.
like a cat pawing at the
Just
microphone.
super easy going. You just relax and close your eyes.
It's giving me like fucking
That's
weird
the whole point of ASMR. It's working as intended.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Too Old to Game. I'm your Fairfield host, Dave Oster. Sitting across from me is the original man-child himself, Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And we have a wonderful podcast for you guys today. We are going to get right into the thick of things with all the controversy over Overwatch and feet. And no, we're not, because I'm sorry. I don't have it in me for this outrage culture bullshit. I don't. And I don't care enough about it.
I'm just going to be very mature about it.
Yeah. It's just not us. Like, if you're looking for that, we can point you into a different direction.
Wearing shoes.
But it's not that big of a deal. And if that's your wall to fight on, like, be my guest. That's just not us. We're gonna bring you something a little different today. We're gonna get a little creative. With the Avengers game in the near future coming out. You know, we're excited about it, but it kind of got the gears grinding.
The juice is flowing.
The juice is flowing. And we're like, you know what? I don't know if this game's gonna be for me because visually, you know, we saw a little bit of gameplay and I'm like, I don't know, I'm on the fence on this one. But it got us going to the point of like, hey, you know what needs a game? Another Marvel superhero. But like, how would you make a game for them? And that's exactly what we'll be exploring today on this episode of Too Old to Game. If you want to support us, you can check us out on patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That $1 tier gets you into our Discord server. Keeps the conversation flowing. We've got a fantastic group of people in there right now. I love every single one of them because every time I wake up, every time I go to sleep, there's a whole different sort of conversation going on. Ricky's in there dropping anime. There's politics. There's
PhD and schooling discussion between Pat and Charlie.
Literally the most diverse conversations I've seen in a long time, and it's just on nowhere, and it's organic, and it's great, and I wish you guys could be part of it. So check out Patreon if you are interested in that. But Ricky, people aren't here to listen to me pander forever. So I want to get right down to it.
You can now get your paycheck. You check the box.
We
Dave.
get paid for this? You guys are getting paid?
Your figurative paycheck can now be cash.
Thanks.
Because you checked the box.
Thanks. So where I wanted to start this off was out of all the Marvel characters, outside of those in the Avengers game, as of today, that we know of. I know there's some expansion characters planned.
So
but like,
they have to be Marvel and not in the Avengers
correct.
game.
We're going to start as Marvel, and we're going to build this out as far as we can go. And then if we decide to change it up to a different, comic universe, maybe that other one over there that's not so good at making movies, we can do that.
They've been better.
They've gotten better. But yeah, Marvel. Non-Avengers game character. Who would you start with? Who's the most deserving of of a video game being built around them?
So I'm going to have an honorable mention first because I'm going to answer your true question of
I appreciate
there's
that.
got to be, like, if I'm looking at one character, I have one in mind, but my first thought would have been the Fantastic Four. They're my honorable mention. But since they're a group, they're not really like one hero.
True.
That's why I
appreciate
use
the
them
asterisk
as the answer.
Yep.
I'm going to hit you with maybe a curveball here.
Okay.
Doctor Strange.
I dig it because I loved Doctor Strange.
The reason why I say that is I don't know how it would work.
Oh, well, that's a whole... No, you're just dumping a character name.
Yes.
Now let me keep feeding you.
Because the thing I like about it is with Doctor Strange, you can get... It's kind of like TV shows where they say animated you can get away with a lot more because it's not real. With Doctor Strange, you can get kind of trippy.
Oh, yeah.
And could get away with some stuff because he's all about the metaphysical and like other realities, and he's not just based in our world.
I absolutely agree. I think that's a fantastic selection to start off our new Marvel video game at. So we've got Doctor Strange as our leading character. Now, how are we going to play this game? Is it going to be a first-person shooter? That would be really strange for Doctor Strange.
I'd say kind of like the Spider-Man game.
Like Spider-Man.
You're playing as Doctor Strange with his ability.
We're going cityscape, basically. Like, are we in a city? Are we starting off?
you're
Or
kind of
what's the genre for open world?
it's,
So open world explorer.
yeah,
I guess.
open world explorer, but it's mixed with because the one aspect of the game that I would pull from other ones is like, for example, like Kingdom Hearts worlds that when you're going to different worlds. I'm not saying we're gonna have a gummy ship here.
You just sorcering that shit up.
Sorcering and then boom, loading screen into the next world. But you would have that map that you could like. Eye of Agamotto opens up if you're dealing with time, or
That's
like
genius.
a ring opens up and like boom, here's your selection screen. It's like a map. You can kind of. I don't know if it would be a map because you're not going to location. Like you're going to locations.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like one could be time, one could be a different realm. Like you can pick where you're going on this screen.
Yeah.
But still, it's open world within these.
So you get to so it's like I want to go to New York, and I would be like, for lack of a better thing, I'd be like I would just be in New York, and I would have however much area available to us. Are you thinking like sprawling open like Red Dead Redemption 2 or like Spider-Man 2 where it's pretty big, but where the map is and isn't?
I would say Spider-Man.
Okay,
like,
so Spider-Man's your world size.
Red Dead's way too
for
big.
an individual world.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man for individual world. If you guys haven't played Spider-Man, Game of the Year, did it actually win that?
No, it didn't.
Disappointing because God of War won, which was actually amazing. Also, I can't really get mad at that.
I'm gonna look up the Game Awards because they happened.
We
so
talked
long
about
ago.
them. You could check out our old video because we did predictions on the Game of the Year awards. I think
Spider-Man was my Game of the Year.
Yeah. So that's fine. So we're doing an open world explorer, but we also have that ability for from Kingdom Hearts where we're going through some different places via that not teleportation via that ring. We're just gonna ring ourselves open to a different place. Next thing, what do you think about this being a who? I guess where do you want to start? Would this be a style or a genre of game? Like, are we following one big bad through this story arc? Is it a murder mystery?
See, that's the interesting thing.
Is it a bunch of little ones and we find out over time, it's like, there's a big arc behind this whole thing. There's a puppet master.
I'm almost going to take an idea from what they could be doing with the new Doctor Strange movie, where it's called the Multiverse of Madness. We know Nightmare is going to be the villain. I would say almost make it like it's a superhero game. But because Nightmare would be the villain in this first one, kind of make it a horror game.
I like it.
Like horror aspect to it because, of course, Nightmare is going to be on that horror aspect side, but you could treat it like, if you wanted to, you could Arkham this out and say, okay, Nightmare is going to be our first villain, but eventually we could lead up to, let's say, like game 2 could be this, and then game 3 could be Dormammu. Like, I don't know if you want to do Dormammu eventually
because he was already in.
Well, he's such a big villain. Like, he is cosmically big. It would be like the X-Men game going up against Galactus. I just don't know how you would do that in a first game. It might be too much to kind of bite off and chew.
Yeah.
Plus, I wouldn't want to do Mordo because it's like we just had him in the first movie, but that also makes sense. Being the first villain for him.
You could build out Mordo so much more in a video game universe because think of all the hours of gameplay. You could, and that's one of the things
connection
in the movie. And I did enjoy the movie, I will say, but I think that's something that they could have done a better job of exploring his backstory because we're so deep in learning Stephen Strange that if we got the chance to learn about Mordo, like that would have been a whole lot better. So maybe we could explore a little bit of him, and then Nightmare is the big bad. I don't know. Maybe we got some interesting takes there. But how do we do villain? How do we do horror in like an open world explorer? Is this first person? Is this third person?
I'm thinking third person.
Over the shoulder third?
Yeah. Like
that is the
Spider-Man.
style, yeah.
The reason why is like if I'm doing the sling ring stuff, I want to be able to see Stephen Strange do it. I just don't want to see
in front of me like a hand doing this.
Kind of like how we saw Spider-Man swinging and flipping.
Okay.
I want to see Doctor Strange with the sling ring, and also the cool thing about it is you can have the ability of, I don't know if you make it like special abilities like just, oh, it's a power, or like, hey, I can treat my cloak like I would a pet in World of Warcraft, where it's like, hey, I have these 2 enemies coming at me. I'm going to assign my cloak to just mess with this guy so I can take this guy down, like in certain situations, and like what kind of cool things you can do with the cloak, because it does have a mind of its own and can do things without being attached to Steven.
He basically has, we could build out the catalog of like mystical items that he has access to, and that could be something that you unlock as you play through the game.
Them.
You collect them throughout the game, and then they have their own gameplay aspects because you've got a ton to choose from. I think that could be really fun because that's kind of like gameplay changing. Like, say you do, like, I don't know if you would start off with something ridiculous, but I mean, like, come on, you can do like the cloak for levitation. I think you start with that. I think that would be like the OG starting item. Like, when you start Spider-Man, I know you get the original suit, right? And that, what ability does that have?
So the original suit...
Because I feel like we're just making a slight rip-off of Spider-Man here, but...
But with Spider-Man, like, the suit... I wouldn't consider this, like, the suit.
Yeah.
I would consider this more of, like, the gadgets. That, like, you could, while leveling up, get the points. In Spider-Man, it was buy the gadgets... I'm
not buying the gadgets.
This one, it could be
We're
either...
exploring.
Yeah, so maybe like a God of War type of aspect, where like in God of War, you get these powers by kind of progressing through the story, and hey, I get to this point in the story, then this NPC gives me this
earn
kind
them?
of thing.
It's like a reward, or you think some of them could be found in the world? Like,
I don't want
you get some pieces of... What if you're collecting them? Like, you get a couple pieces of this one. You're reassembling.
I would only do that if it was so straightforward to where it's like, okay, I got to go to these 3 realms, get these 3 pieces, bring them back, kind of a thing.
I think that would be pretty baller for some. I don't think all of them have to be that way.
And that has been done in like Prince of Persia games, God of War games.
Exactly.
So like you could do that, and that's a way to like give the player choice too of like, hey, you're eventually going to hit all 3 of these realms, but you can kind of tackle them in any order you want, and it's not like, well, you have to do this one, then you do this one, and here, let me hold your hand through this entire game.
Yeah, and that way it gives them, the complete choice of like, look, I love the need to go to a location, like, because sometimes you're like, I can skip over that. But it's like, but look, if I know there's something there that I'm digging for, you can have them tunnel through this place to really get to that one piece of the item they're trying to build out. So we're going to have some pieces that are available via exploration. Some pieces are earned through completing the quest line, like the main story quest line.
Because I'm also looking here, like there's... The Cloak of Levitation would be the first one that you get, obviously. But there's stuff like... And I'm just reading them off at this point. The Book of Vishanti, the Ebony Blade... Cloak of Levitation, I already said. Dragon Fang, the Eye of Agamotto. There's a Sash of Doctor Strange that you can get. There's an axe. Like, there's so many things that we can do of like, hey, I've got to collect these. And then maybe, you know what? Leave the Eye of Agamotto out of it.
Really?
Because what I would do is then have the story, maybe it's not Nightmare. I'm changing my mind on the Nightmare thing.
Okay.
So the plot of the game would be these relics have been stolen.
Oh.
And Doctor Strange has to retrieve them. Kind of like how in the movies they made a big deal of like, well, the Eye of Agamotto stays in this room. Kind of like also with Thor.
In the book, where the pages were ripped out of the book of Cagliostro.
Where it's like, hey, these relics have been taken. We have to go and find them. And at the end of the game, the cliffhanger would be, I would say, let's say Mordo's behind it, but he's not the main villain. He's got like a couple lackeys, kind of like in Spider-Man, where there were a couple villains. There wasn't just one that you had. Even like in Arkham Knight, it was like, yes, this was the main villain, but then there's a few little ones.
Well, the question is what's the motivation? If they've got all of these magical items, what are they going to do with them? What's the big plan? World domination?
To destroy the multiverse or something. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but really that's what it is. To destroy the multiverse, or maybe it's to take over the universe kind of a thing. But I know that the end would be Mordo, and I already have it mapped in my head. Credits play out. And it's just like you see Mordo standing there, and one of his guys are like, well, what are we going to do? Doctor Strange beat us. And he turns around, and you just see it hanging from his neck, and he goes, or did he? And then the eye just opens up. To where it's like the next game is a time-traveling game, where it's like instead of going through these realities to different multiverses, the second game could then be you're going through time to different points in history, and that's one where you could then pull in other Avengers at different times. Like, bless you, you have to go see Captain Rogers while he's in the Howling Commandos and while he just got the serum, like World War II, to do something. That's planning a second game, but I think that would be cool, where the Eye of Agamotto leads you into that second one.
I'm gonna come out and say it and be honest with you. I need a better motivation for, they stole all this cool stuff. What are they doing with it?
What would you do?
Well, I'm thinking that, if I'm Mordo and I've equipped an army of, mid-grade cronies, not henchmen, but cronies, I'll go with, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to cause havoc and bring chaos to the world? Or, what is his motivation to do in this situation? What if he's trying to bait people out? What if he's what if this is a means to a different end? It's not just stealing power to have power. What if he takes that and he's like, look, we've got all these relics. We know Doctor Strange is coming for us. This whole thing is set up. He's not strong enough on his own to beat us. Or that's what they're going to say.
He's got these he's got these relics. If we take them away from him, he's weaker.
Well, yeah, but like how I guess where I'm trying to get to is like, what are they trying to bait out by having all of that power? Are they just trying to, we can blow stuff up and rule the universe? Like, I'm sorry, that just, to me, I feel like that's, as a lazy man's thing. What if, and this is the perk of getting a live building, game.
So
I'm wondering what if he was tasked with assembling these items? He doesn't know why. What if there's someone behind him?
I'm going to double down on that.
Yeah.
So he's the one collecting them. All he knows is he's collecting them for Mephisto. Where Mephisto he's basically the right-hand man of Lady Death. Because I remember Mephisto from the Infinity Gauntlet story where he talked to Thanos and he was basically like, I'm aligned with Lady Death, and Thanos obviously had a huge heart-on for Death. But like just reading right here, this little excerpt about Mephisto. Mephisto is a truly flexible villain as he can play upon the smallest of desires or grandish of ambitions. For this collector of souls, every new opportunity is worth exploring. That means he can combat Doctor Strange on a very personal level, toying with his friends, or with Stephen's pride, or as a universal conflict, posing problems for all of reality. That diversity of conflict makes Mephisto an all-time great Doctor Strange villain. He reveals the superhero to be both a relatable person and enormously powerful defender, very often the very same tale. So, like, I say Mordo because that's one of, like, we could have.
We're all familiar.
On.
Everyone's familiar with him because of the movie.
And it's one of Stephen Strange's friends early on.
Yes.
You could kind of change it to where, like, when Mordo becomes evil, Mephisto kind of helps him in that kind of way. That's the toying with Stephen's friends. But then also the end of the game could be, there was a greater plan. The greater plan was for yada, 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 makes either Stephen Strange or make Earth weaker.
Yep.
So that somebody else, Dormammu, Death, some bigger villain can come in and swoop and take them down when they're weak.
I like it. I like it a lot. So the question is, next, we've got ourselves our main protagonist, Doctor Strange. Yeah. Fantastic. We've got our villain, our mid-tier villain, our second, and then our big boy behind the scenes. We've got our storyline. We've got our, the hunt is on for the relics. They've been stolen. You need to get them back ASAP. How, I guess the question to me is like, how am I going to feel playing this game? Are we going to like weird, moody settings? Or like, are we going from the temple to the mirror universe to New York? Are we hitting, Marvel locations throughout? Because setting means a lot. Like, you can't have Spider-Man outside New York City. Far from home. Shut up. I know.
And I don't want the New York or like our world to be just like, oh, it's a copy paste of the New York from Spider-Man.
No, that's what I'm saying. So like, where can you what famous pieces can you toss in there, or do you think that it could truly be anywhere?
I think it's really for this game, maybe have a little bit of it. Maybe like at the most 25%, and even that might be too much in New York. Where the time that you're in New York, I would want it to be so small to where it's just a relatable piece or a nod to the Spider-Man.
It's a jumping off point?
Yeah, because you can also then set them in the same world too.
Yes.
Because in the Spider-Man game was the Sanctorum.
Yep.
So, hey, it was there. We don't need to see Spider-Man. We just know that it's set in the same world.
I think it'd be funny to have some like J. Jonah Jameson shit in the background or something.
You just have the podcast on the board because that was a big thing in that game. So when you're in New York, you might hear that.
Yep.
Like you might hear, they might not be as frequent as the Spider-Man game, but you may hear that. This would just be then everywhere else is going to these different realms or these different multiverses trying to get the relic back. And then it's like, you're in this world, like I'm in this dimension. All right, it's like a new world. It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts. If I go to the Frozen world, I'm in the Frozen universe.
Yep. I dig it because I think we're truly stretching out like the universes as far as we're trying to separate all these relics as far away from him as possible. We're trying to make it impossible for him to get through them. Do you think we could do like some fun challenges throughout those? Like each one would, obviously they're going to be themed, but like, do you think there's somewhere it's like?
I mean, I kind of think, yet again, I'm going to base it off of what I played in Spider-Man, where they had the Taskmaster challenges. Like you could have a smaller villain be like, hey, this is your challenge. Or in like the universe, hey, we've got these different nodes where it's like, hey, this is a side mission here. This is a side mission there. The only difference is how many of those would you want? Because we're not just in like, boom, we're not in New York City and that's all we're at.
Right.
We're going to be in different places at different times.
I think it's just a question.
Doing this with my hands.
I noticed.
We're all over the place, Dave. All over the place.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair enough. I'm excited to see how the game would curve out because like as you get more pieces, it would have to get harder because we're giving you more tools to work with.
Yeah.
If you get like, that's a problem. How do you make sure to keep the curve on par so it doesn't like power creep? So like the end of the game is not super easy for you, but like if you get the Wand of a Tomb, like are you going to get like a 10% bump in power, or is that ability going to tag in? Because you got to limit them somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to feel stronger as you build the game, but you also don't want the game to get too easy by the end.
Yeah, and I mean to me it just, how I would do it is maybe more of a God of War, where it's not necessarily like your attack goes up by this much percentage. Right. It's also, I think of like a Pokemon thing, like how HMs work.
Yeah.
Where it's like, sometimes where it's like, okay, I can't do this. I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes, okay, I can't do this until I get this. I need this relic to help me over here.
I like it. It's like Mega Man.
Exactly. Where it's like
Mega Man.
I can be like, could you go into Realm 2 and defeat that boss? Yes. But hey, if I go to Realm 3 first and get this one,
that makes
or pair it with this, that'll make that fight a lot easier.
Exactly.
Where it's like, you don't have to do it that way. You're not having your hand held. You can still choose which way you want to do it, but some relics may make other fights easier. Where, hey, it might just be, hey, that first one, like, and I'm talking when we have that choice mechanic.
Yeah.
So there's 3 realms. Hey, that first one's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
But which one am I going to go to second? Okay, this one. Let me go to this one first then, because that'll make that one easier. And then I'll have 2 of them for that third one. So you kind of have to strategize.
You have to balance out. Yeah, I like it. I like it. So would the only mechanic to really change your gameplay be the relics, or is there also some way to, also diversify gameplay or maybe get you growing stronger?
I think you can have it also like how I mentioned one of them being like the sash that he wears. Maybe that's something down the line. The ancient one has a conversation with you and she gives you like, hey, maybe this will help you. And then boom, you've got the sash, which opens up new abilities. It's like, holy shit, now I can do all of this with it.
I like it. I think it's pretty awesome. What do you think? Do you think we got ourselves a game on our hands?
I think it'd be the only thing I question is it's like the Superman thing.
Yeah.
Having Superman fly and have that be a mechanic. Yep. I would tackle the gameplay similarly to, if that's even a word, I added syllables to Anthem. You know how like Anthem you're flying through, but even like...
Hang on. You just said the word Anthem out loud and I just have to...
And the way I move that is like, yes, Doctor Strange can fly forward, but like it's more of like having like a levitation thing. Kind of like you can even relate it to Farah too from Overwatch, except your jump jets don't fade.
It's much like, more
I can kind of float there if I want. I can kind of move throughout the open air. Yeah. Because Doctor Strange can do that.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it. Flight is going to be a big question in this game.
Yeah, that would be the hurdle to tackle.
Just don't make us fly through some rings. Please no.
No Superman 64.
No Superman 64 in here.
We'll save that for Iron Man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Who's the hero you want to throw out? Because we spent quite a bit on
I want to build the game. That's what we were doing here.
So we were just building one?
We were just building the game.
Oh, okay.
You guys tell us if you like this, because I think we could do more of these. I think we could do better had we prepped.
But is there a hero that you would want? Because like that's the one I throw out. What one would you throw out if you were like, give me this game? I'll say any hero, DC hero? Or Marvel. Because there's some DC ones where I'm like, holy shit, that would be awesome.
Now I'm just scrolling through fucking heroes now. Mm-hmm. Shit. There's a lot of good options. I think the problem is I want to go like far enough out of the mainstream that you're like, how the hell did that guy get a game? But also keep it, like people know who you are.
Like a Martian Manhunter game?
That could be interesting. Or you could just, swing slightly off mainstream and hit up, like Daredevil. The problem is, I feel like we just end up remaking Spider-Man. That's why I want to stray away from that style of game.
Then hang
on. What about this? Mm-hmm. What about a game where you're playing Mystique?
Okay.
But you're doing it in the style of espionage and like kind of like James Bond spy themed. Even you can cross over to Natasha Romanoff. Like you can interact with that kind of world where you are there,
like that Perfect Dark kind of Perfect Dark GoldenEye kind of setting, except it's not a first person shooter,
right? And you have the ability, so you're basically changing, yourself to look like you fit in. You're there to
like Hitman,
yeah, and you're similar. Hitman, I don't think you had that much control, but like this one, it'll be like
you'd have way more control.
I think we'd give them options for like you can grab basically you're kidnapping someone, maybe you're transforming, and then you're trying to break in, get information to for Mystique. It would have to be on Magneto's behest, maybe. Maybe you're trying to. Because really the whole theme that's stuck in my head is still back from the days of like X-Men 2 and 3 where it's like anti-government, the haters of mutant rights. So if I'm trying to bring down the government, at the same time you have to combat the X-Men who are trying to foil your plans. So you've got a dual enemy. You've got dual front enemies. You've got the X-Men trying to foil you, and you have to do your espionage shit by fucking with the government.
There's part of me that wants to double down on that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'd be too closely to what we saw in the First Class trilogy, where give me exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You're working for Magneto.
Yep.
You're going against the X-Men too, but during the Cold War, where it's like, all right, mutants,
stakes are high.
Human rights, where it's like, I'm not just bringing down the government, but you can also throw it in. I kind of think of like the history Easter eggs of like, holy shit, I'm doing this and this is going down.
Yep.
While these key things in history are also happening, and maybe connect them better than the movies did. Because I know the first one did a pretty good job with the Cuban Missile Crisis, but like the other ones were just kind of like, yeah, it's going on. Like I don't know.
That could be interesting.
I don't know if you'd want it set in present day or in the past.
I mean, it's been done in both for the comics, so you could do either or. I mean, that's tough. Destabilizing a government that's on the brink of war is just so. There's something juicy about that. Or
maybe Magneto wants to send these two to war.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're on the brink of war. Yeah. You're right there. It's so juicy.
And the X-Men are trying to stop you from basically starting World War III.
That could be interesting. That could definitely be interesting. Ooh. Now I'm just in the X-Men world though, and I'm like, I just want to fix Dark Phoenix. Unrelated. That's just it's always in my head because
they messed it up twice.
Terrible, absolutely terrible. But yeah, so maybe like a spy thriller game where you're the bad guy because I think that gets
a bad guy. Duh.
That gets such a like. There's not many games out there where you get to play as a bad guy. And I know you, me, and Mark had actually talked about this way back when we first started this shit. That's just like, what if we get a chance to explore being the dark side? Not
like in
being,
Star Wars. I
just mean in general, letting out the bad shit. Like, I mean, you have to be kind of careful with what you're allowing your player to do, but at the same time, kind of exploring that could be very interesting, something we don't see often.
The last time I remember playing a character that was like, I'm the bad guy is Sonic Adventures, when they introduced Shadow.
Yeah.
Like playing as Shadow, playing as, I think it was Rogue was the bat one.
Rose or Rogue?
Rogue, I think it was the bat one. But like that was the first time where it was like, holy shit, I'm playing the dark side character. I am not playing Sonic, I'm playing as Shadow, but even that was like, well, it's really the same thing. I'm just playing as a black hedgehog compared to
I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of motivation or rivalry. I was like, I'm the blue one. I'm the black one.
Your story is different.
Not by much, unfortunately. I think that could be interesting. I think that exploring the darker side and maybe the complete game is you do end up getting foiled anyway. Like no matter what you do at the end. You're still going to get foiled by the X-Men because they're the X-Men. That's what they do. The X-Men
gotta win.
That's what they do. Charles always wins, except when he dies. But then he still wins somehow.
Or do you have it kind of Mass Effect style where the last fight happens and there's two endings?
Oh.
If you beat it, you win. And basically
you start World War
III happens.
And and Magneto takes over the government of the U.S. because they need some strong mutants to win the war because, guess what, bitches? Russia's fucking scary.
Or you lose and you trigger a set, kind of like good ending, bad ending kind of a thing. How we see in so many games where it's like, Red Dead, how do you get the real good ending? How do you get this ending? How do you get that one? Like, we could have two where it's like,
I like the choice of endings.
I didn't do that. But then it could be like, we could have variations of those where it's like, oh shit, if I would have done this differently back here, then it would have triggered me here. Because like maybe as you're going through it, you might be thinking, well, fuck, like I don't agree with Magneto 110%. So like there might be some stuff where it's like, I'm going to let this hostage go.
You have a chance to
you kind of change the ending.
I like it. I like the ability to tweak on that because Mystique has over time betrayed Magneto tons of times. She is an individual. She makes her own decisions. I love it. I love the idea of multiple endings. I like to split. I like giving players choice because that's all it is. Because you're choosing what you're dressing up at or not dressing up, what you're transforming into, who you're imitating, how you're responding to questions because they're going to challenge you. And it's like there's going to be like in my mind, I've got like a meter, like a BS meter of like, how well am I fitting in? And it's like, I answered that one fucking poorly. It's
because you got to fit in.
It's getting sketchy. And like the heart rate fucking monitor starts beating faster and faster.
Yeah.
And like, it gets a little intense for you in game. And you're like, oh, fuck. Maybe I got to like excuse myself or something. Like,
what if there's a scene where it's like, all right, we kidnapped Wolverine. I'm going to go into I'm going into the X mansion.
Yep.
As Wolverine. and I got to fit in as him.
Shit.
And basically not getting my cover blown because let's say there's like something you either have to get out of Charles that he'll only tell. Like Wolverine could get it out of him, or like, hey, we got to find out how to get into
Wolverine's
Cerebro.
got access to, yeah.
Exactly. And you got to blend in as Wolverine, and you kind of have that meter of like, all right, are they on to me? Like, am I going to get caught here? Kind of blending into that kind of spy style.
I like it.
That you want.
Yes, that's exactly the kind of. I love the espionage. I love it because it makes for such great storytelling. And now we've got multiple arcs. We've got war. We've got destabilization of government.
Yep.
We've got the taking getting into the X Mansion. So many different ways we can web this out. I dig it. I think that's got potential to keep going and constantly keep people on the hook because that's what I want in the game. Like, I really don't like games where it's like I don't feel the motivation to keep playing this game. It's just kind of like you're just pushing me along as I go just for the sake of progression. Like, give me a game where I'm like, oh man, I just got out of there barely alive. And like they figured out who I was. And then basically it's like a game of cat and mouse in the mansion is I'm like, I'm going to transform into like Jubilee as I run through this doorway. And then when I get to the cafeteria, I'm going to switch over to this person.
If you have to switch, like,
yes.
You have a couple
because
of
they're
them,
yes.
and you have to switch between them where it's like, oh, no, I got to switch. And it's like, boom. You switch into like Cyclops.
Yeah, I wonder if you could work it like, and this is
and
a terrible
analogy. And then if you pick
analogy.
the wrong one, it's like game over.
Because you ran into
restart.
them, and it's like, well, you got fucking caught.
Like Cyclops ran into Cyclops.
Exactly. What if it's like a Pokemon Snap thing where it's like you have to see them in order to like I want to transform into them?
Or would it be like a Hitman Splinter Cell thing where you actually have to physically touch them?
I mean, that doesn't line up with her powers. That's the only reason why I'm like...
that's the thing, where Mystique, off the top of my head...
She can just go.
If she sees you, she can do it.
She can do it off memory.
Okay.
So that's sort of the thing. It's like once
she
you
can see a
them,
picture of you and do it.
When she knows what you look like, that's it. She's got you. So I think that I like the idea of like the transitioning.
That is actually really cool because you can even have a mechanic in there where it's like, all right, in order to do this mission, I can't do it without this. Like once I see something and can change into it, you have like kind of like the Spider-Man suits.
It's like a Rolodex.
You have a Rolodex of like I can change into anyone that I've seen before.
Yeah.
And you could even play it to where it's like, oh fuck, I got to do this before I do that because I need this person to be able
in that
to change
location.
into them. Yeah.
And then the information you find, like if you talk to people, they'll talk to you and there'll be like bits of information. And then that bit of information might be a challenge question from someone else down the road where they're like, oh, well, you should know it because you're so-and-so kind of a thing.
Because they're trying to figure out who you are.
Exactly. Well, they're just in casual conversation. If you say the wrong thing because you weren't paying attention earlier, like...
You're going to give it away that you're not Cyclops.
All of a sudden that BS meter hits that point and they're like, the fuck? Yeah. And it gets sketchy. It gets real sketchy real quick. I like it. I like that a lot. I would play the fuck out of that game.
There's one other that I think would be... Then this is non-Marvel.
Sure.
Both of ours... Like, I'm trying to think DC, and there are... Like, people have thrown out Aquaman. It's like, Aquaman would be cool, but, like, gameplay style, you still got that, like, same Doctor Strange type of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's in water, like, just the swimming through water. Wonder Woman wouldn't be bad, but there's one on this list that I'm looking at that I'm like, yes.
Who's that?
Give me that. So, before we recorded, I made a thing of, although I am a Batman stan through and through, I would love to have a Superman game that we could all play and all feel like, yes, this is a great Superman game.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the gameplay is a challenge in itself, but story-wise, what if we did Superman Red Sun?
Oh.
Where basically it's like we're playing as Superman, but we're putting that twist on the You're not playing as the Superman we all love and know, and some people like myself might be bored of because it's just the same thing over and over.
I mean,
same
you're the Boy
origin
Scout.
story over and over.
Yeah. Martha.
This time Superman lands in Russia, and you're the Russian Superman now. And having that whole world of, like, of course you're built into, like, that comic and, like, that kind of a storyline that you can deviate from, but it's like...
But, like, can you deviate from it? Because, like, the whole arc of Red Sun is, like, but what if?
Yeah, like, that's the whole thing of, like, the setting is whole what if. But, like, you can deviate from it in the sense of, like, okay, we don't want to go in this exact ending, so we're going to have something else be the, like, you can have something else be the plot.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be cool for, hey, this Superman game, let's give you something totally different. Let's give you a setting that is unique. Because all of our other games are set in New York. In New York,
well,
in
mine's
Gotham, in like the U.S. basically.
Mine's not.
Is it though?
Is it though? It could be U.S. I mean, it could be global. There could be global missions.
Okay.
Because think about it. You're trying to fuck with war.
Yeah.
You can fuck with that on both sides.
True.
You don't just play one angle. You got to play them both.
I was thinking like because the X-Men mansion is in
That's one location.
the U.S.
That's not the only place you're playing at.
Okay.
You thought we were going to play an entire game in the expansion.
No, I thought it was just the U.S.
No, you got to go global on this shit. War has two sides. You got to fuck with them both.
Yeah, but like Doctor Strange, it's like New York or multiverses. Spider-Man, we were just in New York.
Yep.
It would be maybe a fresh air. I don't know if Superman stands would have to tell me whether that'd be good or not.
Superman's got so many good storylines, so that's the thing. Is like, Red Sun? I think is a great read and a great thought. I don't know if it would make a great game. That's my only concern.
Yeah,
I think that he's got some other ones that may lend themselves better to being video gamified. Like another one that I would love, not Superman, but as far as like a comic book series, would be fucking Darkest Night. Yeah. Blackest Night, whatever.
The Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Blackest Night.
Blackest Night. Like, I love that. I absolutely love that arc. There's so much about it. The storytelling's fantastic. It's emotional. It's everything.
You actually get heroes that die. That was like, holy shit.
You have consequences.
Dead. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, could you imagine? Like, I don't know if could you translate that into a video game?
That would be my Mass Effect-like game, where it's like your choices matter.
Yeah.
You are making grave choices that if you make the wrong choice, X hero might die.
Plus, I'd love to get a good Green Lantern game. Like, that's just, and you got all the cores. You've got everybody's involved.
The thing that I wonder is, and this is kind of the crux of everything, where
do you stay true to the storylines from comic books, or do you go original? You can borrow bits and pieces.
I would deviate a little. Like, Spider-Man did its own story.
That's what I'm saying. And like, which one would you prefer?
If it's done right and I'm immersed in it, then it doesn't need to follow the comic all the way through. Because technically Spider-Man didn't follow Doc Ock all the way through. The only question I have is gameplay-wise, with the two superheroes we have, because the one question about Spider-Man coming in was, how's the web slinging going to feel?
Yep.
Which we were used to go to the heavens. It just attaches to a cloud.
Don't even worry about it.
And we don't even worry.
And the arc didn't feel great. Like, you didn't feel momentum as an action.
Where this one, you feel it, and it's like you're flipping, and you can do different tricks. And then you look at Batman, the Arkham Knight games. Well, Batman's easy because it's just a guy with gadgets, and he fights.
Yep.
So, like, to
combat's
me,
got to be decent, and the gadget's got to be fun.
And I mean, Spider-Man's, except for the web slinging, is the same. A guy in a suit that can crawl on walls, and yes, he can shoot webs at people. That's how the gadgets are different. Yeah. But still, it was very Arkham Knight-y when it came to its combat system.
Yeah, well, it felt similar.
That's why I wonder if, like, Superman, Aquaman, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, all these heroes that involve flight, like, are we going to be able to get there to where it's like, okay, this feels natural? Or will we only be stuck to, like, the Captain Americas, the, I'm trying to think, like, Wonder Woman could work because she's based on the ground, Black Panther, like, are we only stuck to those heroes because that's, like, it's easier to do.
Is there a barrier for trying to figure out how to fly in a video game?
There's
games that fly. Like, there's a lot of games.
Would Iron Man just be Anthem but better?
Yes. Single player Anthem, and you build your own suits, that'd be so fucking cool because you give creativity. Like, you know what I'm thinking, actually?
Go ahead.
So, Iron Man, do you remember the game Spore, where it's basically create your own organisms and they can look as goofy or dumb? I do
remember it.
Like,
wasn't that also the same company that did, not Anthem? I'll look it up, but go ahead.
Like, that level of customization, but for Iron Man pieces, Like, I'm talking billions of combos. I don't say millions, but billions of combos of, different pieces of the Iron Man suits that you can combine it to make whatever you want. But you have to earn, those scraps, those pieces. You've got to build those. You've got to do dev time. Like, your accomplishments in game equals X dev time. X dev time means you can build out these plans and, so on. I think that would be awesome. I would play the shit out of that.
I was thinking of Evolve. That's what I was thinking of. Like, I knew Spore.
Yeah.
But the other part, I was like, is that? No, I'm thinking Respawn, and that was Evolve, not Spore. But like, that's the thing. Like, Iron Man is cool because you've got the customization of suits.
Yep.
Doctor Strange is awesome because you can explore magic and the multiverses. Green Lantern's amazing because you can explore space and just be in outer space. Yep. Aquaman, it would be cool, like, to have an underwater kind of aspect. If I did Aquaman, I would make the story about him versus the trench, and that would be a horror kind of a game because you're going into where it's like these are
dimly
they're now
lit
monsters, and like when you're in the trench, yes, dimly lit, but you're basically going up against zombie creatures in the superhero verse.
Like, are we talking like Resident Evil style?
I don't know. See, that's the thing, though. Like, that's something that would be a little hard to tackle is because he'd still be hand-to-hand combat.
Right. Instead of guns.
Yeah, instead of guns.
But he's got the trident.
Mm-hmm. It's not impossible. I was thinking more like maybe Last of Us, but Resident Evil works as well.
Okay.
Or like maybe you know what? I'm going to say Days Gone, because that actually had an aspect of like baseball bats and shit. But yet again, having those zombie creatures work in water compared to air.
I think I think you're too concerned about the feeling underwater and feeling in the air.
The only thing with that is it would have to look right visually.
Yeah.
Where if it looked funky, just having them like underwater, then it would be like, okay, this ain't working. We got to retool it. But like each one has their own thing that would be fucking awesome to do.
Absolutely.
That was my main point.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point to end on, Ricky. If you guys enjoyed us trying to create video games out of some of our most nostalgic, like comic book characters, even comic book series, Series I. Let us know down below. I mean, I think it's something fun to explore, and I'd love to like build one out, like actually, come in prepped and be like, look, we're gonna lay out this fucking video game.
I'm all for it,
and it's just gonna be here for you guys. And I want to know if you guys would play this game. Would you play any of the games we made today? I think I would play at least 3 of them. I had a lot of fun doing it. Hope you guys did too.
I like how you were, I'm like, would Iron Man just be Anthem? And you're like, single player Anthem where I build my own suit? Take my money.
Give me storyline, give me progression, and give me like a ton of hours of actual storyline. That was the biggest disappointment. Anthem just sucked.
Yeah.
There was no end game, there was no whatever. But with a single player game, there is no end game. It's just I'm there to beat the game, and that's the accomplishable goal. That's one of the things they kind of missed on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching us, so much for joining us. Let us know if you play any of the games. That's Ricky. He's the original Manchild. I'm Dave Oster. We'll catch you next time.